Hi guys, Big Monday here, and today I'm doing a video about positioning. Now, I'm going to stay fairly simple on this, and the reason for that is because positioning is a very complex topic, and how you should behave in any given situation will change what your positioning should be. So I'll try and keep it simple. Now, I would expect if you're playing at pro level that your situation, you would change your position independent. Well, at any level you should change your position independent on the situation. Now, when we talk about the situation, we can look at some simple things that we consider a situation change. If you were a pro, I consider you to reassess the situation with every right click, with every spell cast, with every animation or movement you see of a hero. Now, as you're probably watching this video because you're not a pro, I'm going to assume that you haven't got the awareness to track that many things. So what we'll do for the purposes of this, we will consider a situation change when a hero dies, when an ultimate is cast, and when our health drops below a critical point. And we'd say that kind of depends on how a game's going, but let's say for argument's sake it's below half health because most of the heroes I play are squishy. So there are situation changes when anyone dies, when an ult is cast, and when you drop to below critical health. And the drop below critical health should include your allies as well. And this is a really important one that a lot of people in pub games miss, is that you should consider your situation has changed dependent on the position of your allies. So let's talk about just standard positioning in a fight and how positioning in a fight should work first. So I've set both teams up here. I have cleared out most of the trees, although they've grown back. I've cleared out most of the trees and put a couple of wards up. I've got all vision on so they can see them anyway. And we'll go a little bit over everybody's positioning and why they're positioned in certain positions. And what we're seeing is a fight is going to happen here. Both teams are expecting a fight somewhere around here. So both teams are getting ready for the fight. So let's look at the Radiant side first. Okay, so we've got 3 possible initiators on the Radiant team. It's a pub game, so why not? And all 3 of these guys, their positioning is a little bit bad because there's an Enigma on the other team and they're all positioned together. So that's probably not the best idea. Otherwise their positioning is not too bad because they're close enough to react. Axe would normally have a blink dagger. I've just not set one up in this bot match. Basically most of these guys' spells are in range of the Sven and the rest of their team. So these guys' position is okay, other than the fact that they're together. The Sven, he doesn't want to initiate a fight, so we might say is a little bit too far forward. It would depend on what ward vision we'd actually got. It would depend on whether the team wants to initiate. Sven can kind of be an initiator, but depending on his item build, he's not always very tanky. In this game, he's not really that tanky, so he might want to avoid being the initiator. So he should probably be back a bit and waiting for one of these guys to spot. So really, Sven is a little bit out of position, although that would depend on how confident he feels. If he's pretty happy that we're wrecking the enemy team, then he can be positioned a little bit forward. The key point is that he needs to stay within these guys' initiation range, which, just to show you an example with Phoenix, is massive. If I were to dive, that's Phoenix's range. It's huge. It's the same range for a blink. The snowball's range is almost as big. The ice shards is even bigger. The one that comes the one that's a little bit lower and more difficult is Crystal Maiden. Now her positioning, you can see how she's at the back here, and this is the way it usually should be, because as a support, Crystal Maiden's really squishy, so she wants to be out of a fight. She doesn't want to be anywhere where she's going to get focused. She doesn't want... Ideally, she wants to be out of spellcasting range. So let's assume, for example, that we find the Witch Doctor here. And from this position, he wouldn't be able to see the Crystal Maiden. So she's safe. However, if his team initiates on the Sven, she is within spellcasting range to save the Sven. Quite likely she'd be carrying maybe a Glimmer Cape. So she's got options on how she saves him. So her position is pretty good. She's also almost within spellcasting range of these guys. So if these guys get jumped, let's say the Enigma does jump in a black hole. If he hasn't BKB'd, we've got the Frostbite ready. He's going to be sort of somewhere here, maybe. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to get close enough without getting caught in the black hole. But she's close enough to where they would be initiated on to help relatively quickly. So other than these guys being grouped up, these guys' positioning isn't too bad. It's very aggressive positioning because the Sven is where he can... basically, if he runs round a corner of a tree, he could run into the whole enemy team. So it's very aggressive, but these guys are near enough to support him. So their positioning's okay. Now these guys, we have a pudge. Oh, I better deal with the pudge.
Bloody creeps! Skin you for that.
Your middle tower is under attack. Don't get burned.
Okay, so these guys are a little bit more spread out. Again, the PA is feeling very confident, so she's quite up front. She's going to be walking up front, looking for somebody to blink on, looking for an opportunity for a fight. The rest of these guys, now,
Coming through.
Pudge is standing near the lane, and what he's hoping for, he's standing in these trees. He is hoping to catch somebody with a hook off guard. Now the Witch Doctor here is standing near trees, and that should be deliberate. It reduces anybody being able to get vision on him, but he's also standing in spellcasting range of both these guys. So if they get caught, he can move to... Goddamn catapults.
Out of my way.
So if he gets caught, he can move to assist the Pudge, or he can move to assist the PA. Now the PA's positioning is just out of range of the Pudge, so if Pudge does hook someone, she's only got to move a little bit before she can blink on who the Pudge hooks. Again, if the Pudge hooks someone, the Witch Doctor can stun them. Now Enigma would usually carry a blink. Enigma is within blink range of his entire team, which is where he should be. God damn it, I'm going to move this Pudge. And the Clockwork, his range on the hook shot is huge. It's massive. And what he's doing is his hook shot, he's staying out where it's difficult to catch him, unless we had wards here and the enemy team maybe smoked and come from the back. He's behind his team, but he's out to the side where he's expecting the fight, so he should be able to get an angle on a hook shot. But he's also in a position where, let's say, if the Pudge gets initiated on, he can drop in and help. So he's in a position where he can be useful, and his spells can count to his team, but he's not in a position that's dangerous, not ordinarily. So this is what we mean about when people are out of position. So let's say, for example, that Pudge was out here. He's not hidden, he's easy to spot, and he's easy to jump on. So we would say he's out of position. This is kind of, you get a lot of people doing this, and they will come and just stand in the middle of nowhere looking for a hook. And yes, in most games, even if the Sven saw this guy coming, this Pudge would easily land a hook. He'd ult him, and the Sven would just die. The reason for that is because these guys would not be close enough to assist. Now, because I've had time to settle this up and to plan all this, both teams are sort of in range. Now, one of the problems you'll see a lot in a pub game is people being in too defensive a position. You'll see, for example, the Enigma. He could blink if a fight starts here. He could blink black hole quite easily, but he's like, actually, I don't feel safe here, so I'm going to go out here. Now, he might decide that that's a good thing because he's now less close to where the enemy team is likely to be. But he's also further from his team. So if he's going out here, he's taking a risk. Let's say for some odd reason the enemy team are down here. They can jump on him and nobody can help him. If he's going to go off on his own, he needs to be doing something very active. He needs to be split pushing to get extra XP. He needs to be stacking something useful, not just running away. But really, if he's also backed off, he needs to tell his team. He needs to tell his team, look, I'm not here. So if he's not close enough to initiate, being an initiator, then he's out of position. He should always be close enough to initiate on anyone in his team. Initiate
Aye.
on his own team, effectively. So if somebody gets jumped, he can counter-initiate. He also needs to not be in vision. So this is kind of perfect position for him. Now, as a fight flows, our position in the fight will change, and it changes as your situation changes through the fight. And this is what I say about we can use certain things to track how our situation should change. Now, what I'll do is I will, let's say the PA catches the Sven. So she's going to be there. Straight away, both teams are going to initiate. So these guys will end up sort of like that. And the Phoenix is going to come in and supernova. Now, the Pudge is getting fucked by creeps again.
Aye.
God damn it.
Blast you. Aye.
Right.
Yeah.
So those guys are going to sort of initiate like that. The Clockwork is going to come in as soon as he sees, is likely to come in as soon as he sees the Sven 2. These guys are going to all end up together. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Skin you for that.
Now, the Enigma is going to blink, ready for a black hole. Now, he's going to blink as soon as he sees the Sven and the Axe come in, try and catch 2. So he's going to end up sort of there. And the Witch Doctor is squishy support, so he's not going to get right in the middle. And Pudge is going to stay sort of out of the way a bit. He might come in once he feels more confident, but that happens later. So, all this happens, and what's happened is a fight has started. So straight away, a few nukes have been thrown, and that will change our situation dramatically. The most likely thing to change at the start of this fight is that we'll get a big ultimate come out. Like that one. And I'll just stop that. Now straight away, that's a really high visual impact ultimate. Even at low MMR, you should be considering as soon as that's gone, is that your situation has changed. So your situation changes. What do we do about it? So, in this case, what you would do is, if you have a stun that can take out this guy, you would now position yourself more aggressively to try and stun him. So let's say the Crystal Maiden, who's sitting back just on the edge of nuke range, she will now position closer to try and stun him, and then she'll back away. The backing away is the really critical point for the Crystal Maiden. Now, if she got her positioning at the start of this fight, let's say up here, she would have immediately got stunned at the start, and she would get wrecked before she has a chance to respond. So if she's out of position by being all the way up here, she dies straight away. If she's got the correct positioning, she stays at a safe distance until after a fight starts, then both she doesn't die, she would be on full health, and she'd be able to keep throwing her disables during the fight. Now again, PA's a really annoying hero that will completely wreck Crystal Maiden very, very quickly if I blink on her. And this is a PA without any items, just bear in mind. So she's going to die really quickly if she gets caught. But she should never get caught. She should be so far back she never gets caught. Now, another big ultimate that you should consider, but is again the black hole. So when that's cast, again, anyone who wasn't caught in that, again, we're looking at Crystal Maiden here. It would be acceptable for her to position herself more aggressively to try and stop that ultimate. So that's the situation change. Now, the other significant situation changing that I mentioned was you're getting down to critically low HP, and with some heroes this isn't as let me just spread these out a little bit. Again, with some heroes this isn't as much of a big deal as it is with others. For example, a Sven would likely have lifesteal and a decent amount of armor, so if he's on low health he's not gonna worry too much about how much health he's on, as long as he can still do damage. So critical health for different heroes and different builds will change. But let's say you're a squishy Crystal Maiden. Your
bottom tower is under attack.
Your health's quite low, so let's say one hook and a couple of hits from a pudge.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
And you're below half health. So, as a Crystal Maiden, I am most useful when I can throw my attack speed slow and my frostbite. So I've now got below critical health. So I'm going to do what's called kiting. Now, kiting means to change your positioning in such a way that you are still close enough to have an effect on your enemy or the enemy to want to chase you, but you are far enough away to sort of remain safe. And the way that will change depending on who's chasing you. With a pudge chasing you, the range you want to be at is quite long. Witch Doctor's not too bad. PA can initiate from quite a long distance. So again, this Dire team's got really good long range, so you might want to stay a bit further away than these. So let's say I'm kiting the PA. I want her to see me that I'm on low health because I don't want her to just disengage. So I'm going to try and stay within her vision range but outside of her range. Now, what I want to do is stay sort of here. Now this requires awareness of the enemy's abilities, so you might want to, if you're not familiar with all the enemy heroes, you might want to check their abilities. You can see the range there. So Crystal Maiden, if I position here, I'm still in vision range of the PA, but she can't initiate on me without walking towards me, which means I get a chance to back off. But should she change target, and this is why we kite, should she change target, and let's say she goes for the Sven, I am then close enough to come back in and cast my spells again. And this is why we kite and we don't just run away. If I get low health with Crystal Maiden and I just run back to base, let's say at the end of the fight there's both these two heroes left and a Crystal Maiden. So I get away, so PA goes on the Sven. And Sven just can't kill her because of her evasion. What could happen is the Crystal Maiden, because she's positioned reasonably close to the fight, she comes in, stuns, drops nukes, which don't miss because they're nukes, and they kill the PA and win a fight. Whereas if she positions herself so completely out of the fight altogether, then she's useless. So you do need to be aware of initiation range. Again, I'm right on the edge of it there. Let's just see if I can do that without moving. Yeah, just about. So when you leave a fight, you want to kite. You do not just get out. The only time you would ever completely go back to base is if you have literally nothing to contribute. If you have no stick charges, you have no actives that don't cost mana, no mana left, you have no auras, then maybe you would consider going back to base. But sometimes your auras are enough. Let's say you've got a Vlad's. The Vlad's gives the Sven extra lifesteal. So if you stick around and you've only got a Vlad's, you are giving value to your Sven. He's going to get more health from that. He's going to survive longer. You're going to give him more armor, so he's going to take less damage. So your position. If I had a Vlad's, the Vlad's range is. Let's just check.
The enemy's bottom tower's gone down in flames.
Vlad's
Your middle
range.
tower
Where's
is
Vlad's? Vlad's. Right. 900 radius. So. What spells have we got? So the radius of the freezing
Your middle
field
tower
is
is
a
under
little bit
attack.
less than the Vlad's radius. So I can stay here, and the Sven is benefiting from the Vlad's aura I'd have, and I'm safe
Your
from the
middle
PA.
tower is under
So this
attack.
is where
That
you want to
sparked your
position
interest?
yourself in a safe position, but also in a position you can be helpful, and a position you can't be jumped on. So
Your middle tower is on fire.
those are just a few things to think about. I don't want to go into too much detail because I could literally apply a different situation to any
Your
any
middle tower is
there's
burning.
literally hundreds of ways this fight could play out, depending on who catches who first and what spells are cast first. And this is why nobody
The
really
enemy's
does
top
positioning
tower
guides.
burned to the
But the key
ground.
things you want to consider is what is the enemy's initiation range. So how far away can they initiate on me from? So that way you can work out where your safety range is. What is my allies' initiation range? So let's say the enemy team are idiots and they're all standing here. Let's say my axe does not have a blink and Tusk is too far back. Crystal Maiden is too far back. And Sven is too far back. Now as a Phoenix, I have a 1400 initiation range. That's the range of the dive. Plus a little bit if you include the damage output. So ideally, my allies want to position themselves in such a way that when I initiate, they can join the fight immediately. So let's see how long it takes. Let's assume the axe doesn't have a blink. Let's say I dive and supernova. Now the supernova is level 2. It's going to take 8 hits. So even if I land all of my fire spirits on these guys, they're going to kill it really quickly. So how long is it going to take the axe to get in the fight, to actually get to a range where he's useful? So he needs to get point blank. So axe needs to get here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, Supernova's dead. Axe couldn't help. Sven. Let's see how long it takes him to get in stun range. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Supernova's already dead. Tusk. Now he's kind of a funny one because he can send the frozen sigil over the wall. So let's say he sigils. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, Supernova's dead. You see what I mean here? Okay, one more. This one's got a really long range. Let's see how quickly I can protect the Supernova. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 seconds. Supernova's probably gonna die because we've got ranged here. And they'd already have got at least 1 hit each in then. So you see what I mean about the positioning here. So let's say I position Phoenix back where he was, ready to initiate. And let's say the axe is just on this corner. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for axe to show to the enemy team before I initiate, which is kind of just as he steps around that corner. Sven, I'm going to also position aggressively because my Phoenix has said my ult is up, I have everything, let's go, let's go. I'm going to position Crystal Maiden. Let's put her the other side of the trees actually, because she wouldn't be out there on her own. Okay, she wouldn't be out there on her own. She's going to be a little bit further back. And the Tusk. The Tusk should be in or just out of snowball range. So there would be acceptable. Maybe a little bit further back would kind of be acceptable because you wouldn't expect everybody to group up too close because there's an Enigma on the enemy team. So if this position is acceptable, it would be really difficult for me to get more than 2 people in the black hole and there's several stuns on the team. So this positioning is acceptable. It's probably not optimal. I mean, without the mobility items these guys should or could have, positioning is more difficult. So what's going to happen is the Axe shows himself, then the Phoenix initiates and supernovas, and everybody goes to town on Phoenix. So how long is it going to take the Axe to get in now? He needs to get there. So 1, 2. Okay, you can call there. Now what's going to happen is the supernova will go off, then everybody will get stunned. By the time the stun has worn off, it's a 2-second stun at this level. So we've got call duration 3.2, then we've got the supernova goes off in 2 more seconds, so that's 5 seconds. See how long it takes CM to get in. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go, and she can get her stun. Let's see how long the ball takes. 1, 2. Okay, so then we can just wait and go in when needed. So it takes 2 seconds to initiate there. So you can see how by changing our position in here to consider our allies' initiation range, then we can make sure that the fight flows however we like, and we can control the flow of the fight. Because if we, I don't know, let's say the Axe goes in and he misses his call, it doesn't matter, because the Tusk is close enough to stun everybody, the Sven is close enough to stun everybody, and what you get with this combo is that we have multiple ways of holding people together, like that. And all these can be within less than 2 seconds. That's, I think, the key. You should be in within 2 seconds of initiating with your team. Always. There are probably some exceptions. You might want the CM to stay a little bit further back because of how squishy she is, but you should always be within 2 seconds of initiating. And if you're not, you're out of position. Yes, there are a lot more things to consider, and we could go into a lot more detail, but I think that's a good rule of thumb. If you're not within 2 seconds of initiating with your team, something's gone wrong. Now, if you think your team are looking for a bad initiation, you should still stay with them, because if they go 4 versus 5 into a fight, there is no way they're going to win it. If you go 5v5, even if you lose the fight, the chances are you're gonna trade relatively well. So if you think there's a bad fight, tell your team, look, this is bad, we should back out, but stay within this sort of 2 second initiation. Now, what we would find normally, if I go for this same setup, is the Axe would have a blink. So here's 2 second initiation. He can be all the way up here, or he can be down here. CM would probably also have a blink. So let's see, there's her range. There's the range before she can cast spells, so she could be all the way back here even. She could blink over the trees and then immediately be able to cast on the enemy heroes. So really, we could, if we got standard items on these guys, or even a force staff, she could get up through the trees pretty quickly. We could spread out quite a bit, but what we're doing is we're looking at our allies' items and our allies' skills, and looking at what our allies' initiation range is. And we look at who's going to initiate as well, because we want to base our positioning off who's going to initiate. Now, in this setup, it would be either the Axe or the Phoenix. If I was playing Phoenix in this game, I would have likely turned around to the Axe and said, look, it doesn't matter whether me or you goes first. If you see an opportunity, just go for it, but stay near me, and if I go, follow me. And this is what you need to do. And then these two heroes would track round the map, sort of at least near each other, close enough to initiate on either one's target, and then the rest of them would sort of position themselves within initiation range of like that box. And that's what you want to that's what you want to consider. This is kind of more focused on fight positioning, granted, and there's lane position and the map position. There's a lot of other things to consider, but positioning is so complicated. It's kind of you can't cover it in one video. Okay, so guys, I hope you found this useful. Please, go to town in the comments with
Your middle tower
things,
is on fire.
you know, discussions on positioning, because it's such a complicated subject. It's kind of hard to make a video about it. I hope I've managed to get through some stuff that's simple enough for you to consider here. If not, you know, guys, let me know in the comments, and just generally let me know what you think. So go and have a play in Dota. Just go and play in the game, and just make a point at the start of the game of considering, right, what are my enemy's initiation range, what is my team's initiation range, and who should I follow for the initiation. And if you go through that thought process, you should find that your team fights are a lot more effective. So go into Dota, guys, have fun, let me know how it goes. Thanks for watching the video, guys. See you all soon. Bye bye.